You're sick, not sniffly take a day off sick, genuinely dangerously sick. Your body is burning. Your joints ache so badly that moving feels like punishment. You can't keep food down, you can't think straight. And around you, the world does not pause. The group still needs to move. The hunt still needs to happen. Winter is still coming. Now imagine this. There is no doctor, no pharmacy, no bottle of anything. No number to call, no building to go to. Just you, your body, and the people around you who are trying to figure out what to do before you become a problem they can't solve. That's not a thought experiment. That was every human being on Earth for the vast majority of our existence. And yet, here you are, descended from people who survived it. Somehow, repeatedly, against odds that should have ended the whole project.
So, how did they do it? First, let's kill the easy answer, because the easy answer is wrong, and it's been wrong for a long time. The easy answer is they didn't. That prehistoric humans just died of things we'd shrug off today. Got a fever, died. Got infected, died. Got sick in winter, definitely died. And there's a version of the evidence that seems to support this. Life expectancy numbers from prehistoric populations do look brutal on the surface.
30, 35. Hardly worth making plans. But that number is a lie. Not intentionally, but structurally. It's an average. And it's an average absolutely dominated by child mortality. In the Paleolithic, somewhere between a third and nearly half of children died before their 15th birthday. Many of those deaths came in the first 5 years of life. Infection, parasites, accidents, starvation during a bad season. When you fold that catastrophic wave of early deaths into an average, the number crashes. It looks like nobody lived past 35. But what it actually shows is that early childhood was a brutal gauntlet. Adults who made it through that gauntlet, who survived to 15 or 20 with hardened immune systems and practical survival knowledge already taking root, had a very different story ahead of them. Hunter-gatherers who reached adulthood had a modal age of death between 68 and 78 years. That's the most common age at which adult survivors actually died. Not 35, 68 to 78, without a single antibiotic in the entire world. So they were surviving, and they were surviving serious illness. The question is, how? Start with the body itself. The human immune system is not a passive system waiting to be boosted by modern medicine. It is an extraordinarily sophisticated machinery built by hundreds of thousands of years of brutal field testing. Every pathogen that tore through a prehistoric population and killed some people and not others was also running an involuntary experiment in resistance. The survivors carried something the dead didn't, and they passed it forward. The immune robustness in your body right now is partly a direct inheritance from people who survived diseases we no longer have names for. The product of a long and vicious selection process for bodies that don't give up easily. But the body alone wasn't enough, because some illnesses are too severe for even a strong immune system to handle alone. Some infections spread too fast, some fevers climb too high. And this is where something happened that researchers are still working out the full implications of. They had medicine, not sterile, not clinical, not anything resembling what we'd recognize walking into a hospital today, but medicine in the deepest and most meaningful sense. The knowledge of which plants did what to a suffering body. Analysis of mineralized dental plaque recovered from Neanderthal teeth has detected traces of plants with no nutritional value. Yarrow, groundsel, ephedra. Plants with anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, and analgesic effects. Plants that appear independently in traditional medicine systems across cultures that never had any contact with each other. That's not coincidence. That's discovery. Repeated, tested, transmitted discovery. Someone figured out that a specific plant reduced fever.
Someone learned that another one applied to a wound slowed the spread of infection. Someone watched a sick group member chew certain leaves and recover, and they remembered it. They told someone. That someone told someone else. Across generations, in a world with no writing, knowledge like this lived in exactly one place, inside the minds of the people who had been alive long enough to acquire it. Which is why the sick weren't just left to manage alone. Here's what the fossil record keeps showing us, quietly, in ways that don't make headlines, but probably should. Prehistoric individuals with serious injuries and illnesses that should have killed them in days. Healed. Not quickly, not neatly, but healed, recovered, back on their feet and living for years more, sometimes decades. Shanidar 1, a Neanderthal male excavated in what is now northern Iraq, had a withered arm, likely blind in one eye, significantly deaf, walked with a permanent limp, and survived with all of this simultaneously in a small nomadic group that needed to hunt large, dangerous animals and cross difficult terrain to survive. That is not an accident. That is a decision. Repeated, daily, costly. A decision that says this person's survival matters enough to us that we will spend calories and effort and time to make it happen. And it wasn't just about compassion, though the compassion was real. Sick people who recovered became people who had survived something. They had information that nobody else in the group had. They knew how this illness moved. They knew what had helped. They knew what a person looked like at the point where recovery was still possible and at the point where it wasn't. That knowledge was irreplaceable. The elder who had survived the last outbreak of something terrible was the closest thing the group had to a physician. Keeping that person alive long enough to pass on what they knew was itself a survival strategy. This is what gets missed when we look at prehistoric illness through a modern lens. We assume survival was individual, that each person either had the biology to make it or didn't. But survival in small cooperative groups was never purely individual. It was collective. The group's knowledge, its willingness to care for the sick, its accumulated understanding of which plants helped and which ones killed you faster, its memory of what had worked in previous crises. All of that was the medicine, and all of that was maintained by people. Living, aging, experienced people who had seen things go wrong before and remembered what had brought them back. So when you ask how ancient humans survived being sick without medicine, the answer is they survived because they had medicine. Imperfect, plant-based, hard-won, orally transmitted, collectively maintained medicine. And they survived because the people around them made a choice again and again across hundreds of thousands of years. That choice shaped us. The willingness to care for the vulnerable, selected for groups that were better at caring. Those groups survived longer, passed more forward, built more. You are not just descended from the people who were physically tough enough to outlast a fever. You are descended from the people who stayed.